Hi, my name is Dr. Michael Ullman. I'm an ophthalmologist in Pensacola, Florida. I recently created the iChart app for the iPhone, and this video is going to go over some of the features. It is not a comprehensive video, but hopefully this gives you some idea of what's included in the app. As I'm going over this, I'm going to be navigating the app using this iPhone 15, and I'll be showing you a screen recording taken directly from this phone adjacent to my video here, so you can follow along. So the first screen is this iChart screen, and it defaults to the letters view. All the modes of the iChart app have unique navigation bars. So first, let's just go over the navigation bar of this default screen. So on the top left, you'll see there's a button that looks like a little light bulb or sun. This is to adjust your screen brightness to maximize it. So if you're measuring a patient's visual acuity and you want to increase the brightness of the screen, you can quickly tap that button. So I'll have to tap that button here, and you can see it just makes the screen brighter. And then if you tap it again, it reverts back to its previous screen brightness. You'll see that button throughout the app. The next button to the immediate right is the shuffle button. If you tap the shuffle button, it will shuffle the optotypes, and it also tries to avoid having the same letter directly in a row. So it's a random shuffle, but it also tries to make it less repetitive for patients. You'll see this button again appear in different modes throughout the app. Whenever you see that button, it means shuffle. Directly to the right of the shuffle button is this viewing mode button, where it has 3 horizontal lines. That's this typical view of your traditional near card. If you tap that button, you'll see we switch to this single vertical line. This is a very helpful mode when you're quickly trying to screen a patient's vision so they have less to read. If you tap again, this is the single row mode. So this again can just be helpful when patients maybe get confused with the full chart. You'll see there's down and up buttons to the bottom of the screen in the single row mode. And also adjacent to these down and up buttons, there's a shuffle button, so you can quickly shuffle and just navigate up and down the various rows. If you tap one more time, you'll be presented with the single optotype mode. I find this helpful for pediatrics, where it might be a little confusing and you just want one picture, one optotype, and again, same controls are maintained throughout. And if you tap one more time, you're again presented with this default screen. Adjacent to this button, you'll see a ruler. Now if you tap this, you'll switch from the imperial system to the metric system and vice versa. And we'll go over the labels in more detail, but this basically just switches between imperial and metric mode system. Adjacent to this, you'll see our different optotypes that are available. So again, letters is the default mode, but we have many different optotypes. So if you can tap each one, you have numbers, you have pediatric options, you have nonverbal options, all at the tap of your finger. A nice thing to realize too is no matter what optotype mode you're using, all the navigation modes will stay consistent and all the buttons will work. So you can click shuffle, shuffle will still work, the different viewing modes will still work, the different imperial metric system modes will all still work. Next to look at is going to be the labels. So you can see underneath where it says letters, it says hold at 15 inches or 38 centimeters. And again, if you switch to imperial mode, it'll remove the inches. And below that, it says current distance. Now, that current distance is very important. That's measured using the iPhone's true depth camera. So the same camera that measures your face for Face ID is used to measure the viewing distance of the iPhone. So right now, I'll show you, I'm holding it a little closer, so about 13 inches. So because I'm not right on top of 15 inches, it changes from green to orange. If I really get far out of range, it'll turn to red. So this color-coded system is designed to help you use to view the phone at the correct distance. Now the current distance is also shown in diopters. So if you're trying to find the near ad, it quickly converts it to diopters for you. And if you look at the row, the row labels use this current distance to calibrate the screen. So you'll see next to C here, it'll say at 15 inches, 2800. So if I'm holding this phone at 15 inches, I'm measuring 2800 if they can read that C. Now if I'm holding it much closer, okay, let's say I'm holding it at 12 inches, it turns to 21,000, right? So because I'm holding it closer, it changes the effective visual acuity. So this is helpful if the patient just can't seem to hold it at the correct viewing distance, or if they prefer to view things at a non-15-inch length. It just depends on where you're holding the phone is the visual acuity that line is going to represent. Below the chart, it will show pupillary distance. Now, because I'm looking at the camera, I'm going over the features. It says not available, but if I were to stare at this Face ID, it will eventually show me my pupillary distance, and it's typically within 1 to 2 millimeters. You want to have a clear line of sight between the true depth camera and your face when doing any of these features, but it is typically quite accurate. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the different modes. So if you tap where there's a down arrow next to letters, it'll open up a menu. Now, something to realize, whenever you see that down button, that down caret, that means that there's an associated drop-down menu. So that's just an indicator to always look for when you're using the app. Each of these different tools have several different features, but we'll briefly go over the tools here just so you have some idea of what's included in the app. First things first, we'll go over the Amsler Grid. So again, the navigation bar is going to change depending on the tool you're using. So just to go over the navigation bar again, the top left has the save button. Next to that is the redo or undo buttons. Then you have the patient info button, the trash can, which just clears the drawing, and the close button. Now, whenever you're in any different mode, if you hit that close button, I'll show you, it will represent that initial eye chart view. So we'll go to Amsler Grid again. Again, you see below this navigation bar, you'll see that down caret, so that means there's a drop-down menu. So if you touch here, you're presented with multiple different Amsler Grid modes. It has all the 7 original Amsler Grids, plus the white grid that most people are more familiar with seeing. So you can quickly switch between different modes. At the bottom here, you'll see there's different drawing tools. So if you want to document a scotoma or have a patient document it, you can choose between pens, markers, crayons, anything you want. You can also change the color. So for this, I'll just say, okay, they have a central scotoma. They describe it like this. I click patient info, and you can put in your test patient. We'll just put in some fake information here so you can get a sense for what this is capable of. You can toggle a timestamp as well. You can put a quick note, so we'll say AMD, and we'll click save. So all that information saved, and you can further edit things, you can erase, you can undo, redo, and then when you're satisfied with it, you just click this save button here, and it says, iChart would like to add to your photos. You click allow, the image has been saved, and then when you go to your camera roll, you will see the image and all the information saved along with that image as well. Nothing is saved in the app, so there's no privacy issues. We don't collect any data from you or from any information that you enter into the app. So if you close this, we'll go to our next tool. So the next tool is just a simple Anisometropia tool. This, you need red-green glasses, but basically you have the patient match the size of the 2 bars. You can do it in the horizontal or the vertical meridians, and it will calculate the degree of anisometropia. Very quick, simple app, simple tool there. Next up is the axis finder. So this uses the camera's gyroscope. I'll show you if I turn the phone, the gyroscope changes angle, and you can measure an axis, and you can also measure like an LRI as well here. And then at the very bottom here where it has a flashlight, that's your torch control. So if you want to turn on the flashlight. On the top left, you'll see this button that looks like the back of your iPhone, like the different cameras. That allows you to switch between the different cameras. So if you want to use the telescope camera or not, it's available to you. There's many ways to use this to measure toric axis, to measure your slit beams axis. If you look online on YouTube, there's similar tools already available. I don't want to get too into this because you could spend a lot of time discussing this particular tool and how to use it, but that's the axis finder. To take a screenshot, we have instructions to basically hold the lock and volume up button. I found this is better than actually implementing a picture button just because I get an exact screenshot of what I'm seeing using the axis finder. So again, we'll hit the close button. And the next tool, very simple. It's a blue or red light. So once you tap it, you're presented with an entire screen that's blue. It's hard to tell from this recording, but the screen brightness automatically goes all the way up. And then if you tap the red dot, just adjacent in the navigation bar, it just quickly changes to red. So you can test red desaturation or look for an epithelial defect quickly using that button. Next up is the calculators. Now this has a pretty comprehensive list of eye care calculators. I'm constantly adding new calculators, but it already has quite a few. For the purpose of this video, I'll just show you a random calculator here, but I encourage you to look around, try different calculators out. There's some pretty cool stuff in there. And at the top, you'll see you can also search various calculators. So it's very easy to find what you're looking for. So I'll just type in BMI here. And then you're presented with a quick BMI calculator. You can type in, let's say, 150 pounds. We'll say they're 5'6", and you calculate. And then you have a BMI quickly calculated there. There's a lot of other stuff for refractive surgery, for optics, for glaucoma, and again, it's constantly being updated. Next tool is the color plates. So again, the navigation bar changes, and again, you'll see some of those familiar buttons to change the screen brightness, to shuffle. This info button to the right of the shuffle button reveals the answer. So if you see that info button, that's typically what it's used for in this app, is to basically show you the answers of the given test. So you'll see it says color plate 1 of 13. You swipe left or right to reveal the next plate. If you want to look at the answer, again, you hit that info button and it'll show you the answer beneath it. And again, you see this down caret indicating there's a drop-down menu. So if you tap that, you'll see all the different color tests that are available in the app. So I just included a variety in case you have a preference. I like the typical Ishihara and the pediatric color plates, but they're all useful. And if you tap the shuffle button, it randomizes the plates so you can quickly, if you're testing the other eye, if you're worried that they're memorizing things, you can just quickly tap shuffle and randomize the plates. Okay. Next up is the contrast sensitivity chart. Again, familiar navigation bar. So the screen brightness, shuffle, and answer buttons are all there. You can see the shuffle button works. When you touch the info button or the answer button, the contrast goes to 100%, so you can quickly verify what the patients should be seeing. And this is based off the more traditional contrast tests where the chart is broken up into triplets. So you can see at 100% contrast, the OHN triplet is totally, the opacity is 100%. And then you can see all the way down to 2.0, which represents kind of the 20/20 of contrast sensitivity. The triplet adjacent to that is DRS, and you can see that's the lowest opacity or the most difficult to see. The units are in log contrast sensitivity. This is not perfect, obviously. It depends, lighting conditions, your screen, the screen brightness. I like to toggle it to max screen brightness when I'm doing this, but my point is this is not an exact science as far as contrast sensitivity, but it's a good screening tool. Next up, our next tool after contrast sensitivity is drawing. So if you tap this, again, this is the same basically tool as the Amsler Grid, but instead of showing this to a patient to document a scotoma, you can document exam findings. So again, you have the save, the redo, undo, the same patient info button. So this is the same as the Amsler Grid, with the download button, the redo, the undo, the patient info button, the trash can to clear the drawing, and again the same drawing controls. Just like the Amsler Grid, you'll see there's that down caret. So if you want to do a corneal drawing, there's a template for that. There's a retinopathy of prematurity template. Just a quick way to do a doodle to document exam findings. Next up, after drawing, is the Duochrome Test, and you can see this menu is in alphabetical order, and these icons are designed to just allow you to quickly navigate. But the Duochrome, basically, again, you have the screen brightness and the shuffle button, and you can see it's just perfectly symmetrical. I did not include visual acuity labels because for the Duochrome it's a little confusing. It's not really meant to document visual acuity. It's really meant to refine a refraction. So you can see it's just a quick and easy Duochrome test. Next up is the IOL spec sheet. This just has a list of various IOLs. All of this is available on the internet, but sometimes I just want to quickly reference in a spec sheet and I don't want to look online, or I don't have an internet connection. I've just found it helpful. And you can also, again, search just like our calculator. So let's say I type in LAL, and then here I'm presented with the spec sheet. And again, I update this whenever I get a request. From this spec sheet view, you can also tap the share button and share it with friends, print it, copy it, send it in an email, text message. Just quickly share this information. All right, next up is the OKN drum. So here you're presented with your typical OKN drum. The navigation bar has this minus and plus button. Those are your speed controls. So I'll tap the plus button to increase the speed a few times, a few clicks. So you can see it went up a little bit. I'll tap it 3 more times, and you can see it increases the speed. Let me slow it down here. So back to a very slow speed. Where it says black stripes, again, you see the down caret indicating various menu options. So I'll tap that, and you can see there's multiple different modes. So you can switch to a red stripes, and you can switch to shapes for kids. So if you go shapes or cartoons. So here's your animal mode, which just shows various cartoons. And what's nice too is I'll show you on my screen here, if you rotate it, the cartoons will rotate to the correct orientation. So all you do, it's very easy to show a patient and test for any induced nystagmus. For the stripes, if you pinch, you can also change the stripe size, which can be helpful. And if you tap the screen, the navigation menu is hidden, so you're presented with a really nice, immersive OKN drum with no distractors. Next up is the Ullman Indirect. I think this tool could deserve its own video, and if you type in smartphone fundoscopy or Ullman Indirect into YouTube, you'll see tutorials on how to use this. But let's just quickly go over some of the features here. So in the top left, you'll see that camera button. So this will switch and toggle between all the various front-facing cameras of your phone. Then you'll have an info button. This info button gives you a brief tutorial on how to use this. Basically what you do is you use a handheld 20 diopter lens, 28 diopter lens, and you're going to use this instead of your indirect headset. So you're going to hold the iPhone and look through at the screen, and basically using your 20 diopter lens, you're going to hold your 20 diopter lens, look at the iPhone screen, and take pictures of the retina using your phone. Again, if you Google smartphone fundoscopy, you'll see some great examples of this. If you tap patient info, again, you can put in some patient info and it will record this on any photos you take. On the bottom here, you'll see there's a focus lock. So if you tap the focus lock slider will allow you to manually control the focus, which can be helpful when trying to get the retina in focus. If it's unlocked, the autofocus will work. And then you have an exposure slide and you have a torch slide. So that torch slide allows you to control the brightness of the torch. It's kind of like a digital rheostat. There's a photo button, so if you want to take still photos, or you can record video. I personally think recording video is great, and then if you also on top of that want to tap to take quick pictures while you're doing your exam, that's the most helpful. I also would recommend toggling to the camera that is closest to your torch on your phone. So that depends on what iPhone you have, but that's to me the easiest way to get a good image. And you can pinch to zoom, so even if you're not using the telescopic camera, you can still get great up-close shots. You just pinch the screen to zoom. But having that camera and the torch coaxial really makes it much easier to get good photos. But I would encourage users to play around with it, go on YouTube. But it's a great thing for on-call if you don't know what something is and you want to take a quick photo. I would encourage users to play around with it, look online, check out what people are doing with it, because it's a great tool to be able to take a quick photo of a retinal finding while on call, and you can quickly text it or send it to a colleague for a curbside. Next up, our last tool is this Worth 4 dot. Very simple, just shows the Worth 4 dot test. Again, you can toggle the screen brightness, and you can also just change from a white to a black background, just whatever you prefer. So that's all the tools of the iChart app. They're constantly being updated, constantly being improved. If you have any feedback, any questions, please let me know. You can see the pupillary distance now is reading my PD at 62 millimeters. It's pretty darn accurate. I typically use a 64 for an operating scope, so it gives you a good rough estimate. Again, there is no advertising, there is no subscriptions, and it's designed to really look and feel professional. So when you're talking to a patient, you're not going to get bombarded with an ad. We don't collect your contact information. We don't collect anything about you or your patients with the app. Again, please reach out to me if you have any questions, and thank you for watching.